something magical about fantasy. I know that seems a cliche, but it takes you to these fantastic, vivid worlds, these worlds where the colors are brighter and the spices are stronger and there's love and death and danger and beauty, all in vivid qualities.
You're free to invent things, you're free to combine elements of different periods in time. You can have characters that are that bit larger than life, that are that bit over the top. You're not as constrained to create something completely realistic.
I think I came to writing in the fantasy genre because it was what I most enjoyed as a reader. And so if the rule is to write what you know, I think the corollary to that should be write what you most enjoy reading.
The Voyager story is a long one. In fact, it doesn't start where Voyager started. It starts way back in 1984 when I started at a small gentleman publishers called George R.R. and Unwin, where I was the editor for the Tolkien books because I was a huge fan of J.R.R. Tolkien. And so I had started a fantasy list at Allen and Unwin. As it started, I drew authors with me, and at that point we all sat down and decided we needed a name that would encompass this new big list of all these different things, which included the backlist of Isaac Asimov and Philip K. Dick and all sorts of other people. And the marketing team and the sales team and the editorial team, we all sat down together, and I just sat there and I thought, you know, what was it all about, this genre? It's all about the imagination. And it's all about, it's as if we're travellers in the imagination. Voyager, we are voyagers in the imagination, and that was how the Voyager name came to be.
What I love most about science fiction and fantasy as a reader is it can take you to new worlds and open you up to a whole host of characters that, though they're not possibly set in anything like your everyday life, you can connect with them and you can feel the same things as them and you will fall in love with them.
Even if it is on another planet or in history, you feel that you're experiencing it with the characters.
There aren't any boundaries, there aren't any limitations to where you can go, what you can be and who you'll meet.
Anything can happen, anything can surprise you. Whereas in other books, it's kind of, you're very refined to this world, whereas good sci-fi and fantasy authors can just take you anywhere that they that they want, basically.
It's gotten a lot more people reading. For instance, like Game of Thrones becoming such a popular television show, a lot of people who didn't read or weren't introduced to good sort of fantasy science fiction books, or even good fiction books in general, have begun to read more and read good literature.
The thing that makes the Harper Voyager list genuinely unique is the extraordinary concentration of greats that we have. Just absolute giants of the genre, and in our backlist we have the most extraordinary collection of writers.
I'm Kim Stanley Robinson, a science fiction writer, long-term HarperCollins, Harper Voyager author, starting with Jane Johnson even before she was Harper, and she brought me along to Harper with Red Mars. So I'm really happy to be part of this scene and the celebration. Well, I've always been a science fiction patriot. I love science fiction, and it's a way of looking at now, but it's also a way of making life exciting. It's my mode of being. It's a way of thinking to be a science fiction person, and so, you know, it's my life.
Hi, I'm Peter V. Brett, author of the Demon Cycle series from Voyager Books. The books are The Painted Man, The Desert Spear, The Daylight War, and forthcoming in March of 2015, The Skull Throne. The Harper Voyager list has so many wonderful authors. It's an incredible list, and I was thrilled to be part of it when they acquired me as well.
Now, you know, we're working with people like Abercrombie, who I think represent the next generation of greats. It's that real concentration of world-class talent that makes the difference.
I'm a fantasy writer. I wrote 6 big adult books set in the same world and felt it was time to try something slightly different. So Half a King and its sequel Half the World are shorter, tighter, more focused books aimed at a slightly younger audience, but that hopefully will work for my adult readers as well. Everyone's shown a real enthusiasm for the book right from the first moment that I came through the door. It felt like there was a really genuine excitement. I could see that everyone had read the book, was interested in the book, was excited by the book, and really at every stage, from commissioning and editing right through to sales and marketing, people have come through with great ideas and great support. It's been good.
I'm Janet Edwards, the author of the Earthgirl trilogy, published by Harper Voyager in this country. Oh, it's been a very exciting journey because I came to this completely cold. I hadn't really expected to get my book published, and suddenly I had a book deal with Harper Voyager. It's quite awe-inspiring, really, being on the same list with people who are that wonderful at writing and so well known.
My name is Peter Newman. The Vagrant is a sort of sci-fi fantasy. It's set in the far future after a demonic apocalypse. And the Vagrant is a mysterious figure who is moving through that landscape with kind of mankind's last hope. It also features demons, knights, singing swords, a baby as one of the main characters, and a goat. This time last year I was at this convention attending panels, desperately taking notes. This year I'm on those panels helping other people. I still can't quite believe it on some level. Yeah, it's real, it's really happening, and that's a great thing.
My name is Emi Taranta. I've just had a novel published called Memory of Water. It's my debut novel, which originally came out in Finland a couple of years ago. And it's a very exciting time to be a debut author. It's also a little bit scary because there are so many new things happening that are unfamiliar and a lot of things that I don't really quite know. But I know I'm in very good hands. And Harper Voyager has been just really supportive and incredible about the novel.
It's really hard to say what I love most about the Voyager list. I love my team. That's almost the most important thing. And we're a team not just of publishing professionals, but a team of writers as well. Anybody who comes to the Voyager list always knows that they're joining a team. So I think teamwork is always at the absolute heart of anything that you do in publishing.
All of the editors, they're just absolute experts in their field. They're so enthusiastic.
I feel very honoured just to work with them and learn from them, but also that the authors are so prestigious.
The most exciting thing about any editor's job, and mine in particular, is actually finding new talent. And that's much rarer than you'd think it might be. When you look at a list as big as Voyager's, you think we must be buying new writers all the time, but actually it's quite rare that we take new writers on. The rush that you get when you read the first few pages of some real talent, and you know that you've come across something really special. There's just nothing quite like that at all.
It's just a really lovely feeling getting something in on a Monday morning, and then by Tuesday morning, knowing that if you don't share it with everyone on the team and the wider team, that you're just going to burst with excitement.
So the process of designing the book artwork can be quite involved, can be quite a challenge, but it starts with a brief from our editorial team, and we use that to start looking at visuals, start looking at imagery, and how that will actually inform how the final jacket will look.
As a designer, it's just so great to be able to kind of go off and commission and find new and exciting illustrators. It's one of the lists where it's very illustration heavy, and it's not something that we get to do across all of our books, so that's really exciting for us.
I think it's the visualisation of the worlds that the authors have created. They are literally out of this world in many cases, and it's about trying to get into the mind of the author to an extent and visualise it in an interesting way.
To publish a book really successfully involves so many different skill sets. So you have to acquire it, and to acquire it means getting every single department of the company on board with that book and feeling that they can do something special for it. And then you have to channel all those people towards publication. And then when you see something like Game of Thrones taking off in the way that it has, When we've been pushing those books for the best part of 20 years, there's just nothing quite like it. Just to see George R.R. Martin get his just desserts after all this time, to see him now as the global superstar that he is, and everybody knows his name, everybody knows little bits of the series, they're naming their babies Khaleesi, and everybody knows what winter is coming means, the red wedding, it's entered everybody's vocabulary now.
I've been reading fantasy all my life. I think I first discovered it in an anthology edited by Sprague de Camp called Swords and Sorcery. And then a couple years later I discovered this English guy named Tolkien with Lord of the Rings, and that book changed my life. So when I came to write fantasy myself, I wanted to create a world that was just as vivid and real to my readers as the worlds of Tolkien and Robert E. Howard had been to me. And that's what I strove to do with the Seven Kingdoms. Voyager has had a long and very successful voyage. They published some great books. They've been a joy to work with, and I think they're got a lot of adventures yet to come. Like a lot more years, a lot more voyages to some worlds as vivid and colorful and memorable as the ones that in the books they've published to date.
When we launched this list 20 years ago, I can tell you it was not cool to love science fiction and fantasy. We made loads of money, but nobody quite understood how. They didn't seem to know who we were selling books to. Well, all that has changed. Our authors are headlining festivals, they're being feted by the mainstream media, they're getting reviewed, and they're here. I have to thank you all. So many of you have made this list what it is. We have such a fantastic array of authors here tonight. Thank you all so much for coming tonight and helping us to celebrate. Thank you.
I remember 20 years ago, Voyager celebrated its launch at the first Glasgow World Science Fiction Convention, which was held on a barge, a party barge on the Clyde River. The barge had no engines. It was like concreted in. It was perfectly attached to the shore. I remember I approached Jane and said, Jane, the symbolism here is all wrong. You're launching a line called Voyager on a boat that goes nowhere. But they managed to break that curse.
I can't look into a crystal ball and see the future, but I now feel that a floodgate has been opened, and that so many more people who would never have regarded themselves as fantasy or science fiction readers are now aware of the riches that they can find in this area. But now that Game of Thrones has just sort of swept all that prejudice away and people have just become completely hooked, I do think that the world is our oyster and that we can move forward really confidently now.
In today's publishing climate, it's always impressive when things stick around. Harper Voyager has been with us for 20 years.
They say if it's not broken, don't fix it. I urge Harper Voyager to not fix it. Move forward, you've got it right.
Sail on. The voyage has been pretty exciting so far, but there are more magical kingdoms over the horizon, so keep the ship on course.